Hi, I'm Anthony from Sydney Backyard Veggies. Just been away from the patch for the last 10 days on holidays with the kids during school holidays. And I've finally been able to get a chance to come out in the patch and see where it is at. I've had my dad look after my patch for the last week, but there's still a lot of things I need to do. A lot of harvesting actually. I'm just going to go progressively through my patch and see where everything is at and start harvesting a few of these crops that have actually probably needed to have been harvested during the week. So hope you can join me while I'm working in my patch this afternoon. Before I get started on harvesting and working in my patch, I'll give you a quick update of where it's at. There's tomatoes, and I posted it about 2 videos ago where these were at, and I was just starting to stake the higher leaves onto the plants, and as you can see I've got now tomatoes being produced. You can just see those beautiful tomatoes. But what I also have is those side shoots that I was growing out. So you can see right there, that now needs to be staked onto this post. And also likewise this one here. Now I've got a couple of issues going on here. I'm going to have to start having the flowers rubbing up against the post, which I don't want. So I might quickly just relocate that. But generally speaking, all these tomatoes need to be staked via the stem rather than the leaf, so that one is going to be removed. But I'll be doing that over the weekend. But these tomatoes are looking beautiful. I'm really happy how they're going. It's funny, once the temperature goes over that 20 degrees at night time, the tomatoes really respond. And if you can remember from my previous video, I'd actually healed these soil, and you could just see the soil. It took a lot of leaves, but I'll be removing all those later. But the soil is just up against that stem, so yeah, I will come on the weekend and remove those lower leaves and really clear it out. And over at my second plant of tomato, the Farah, these were about a week behind the other ones, and again I did my initial prune. I haven't added the fertilizer to them yet, but again just over the last week the fruit has started to show, which is great. And I'm needing to start to stake these stems onto the stakes. And I'll bring you across and show you the tomatoes are completely full, and they do need a big prune, but they're looking absolutely amazing. Really happy with how my season has been started with these tomatoes. I find that the Thunder as a plant looks a little bit better than the Farah, but we'll see what it looks like at the end when I'm getting the produce off them. But so far so good. Both of them are producing really well, looking really strong, healthy, and I'm hoping to see how the Farah responds once I start adding that first round of potash. Coming across over to my last planting of cauliflower, and my healing and fertilizing of these plants, they have absolutely responded to the heat and the warmth in the daylight hours. It's an absolute bushy, and I don't think it really reads well enough on the camera how much leaf matter there is here at the moment. I've had a quick look this morning to see if there is any plants heads forming, and nothing yet. But all I'm saying is this thing, well, I might stand back, is taken over the whole corner here, which is great. Hoping that these will start producing soon. They're actually starting getting too big and starting to take over this side of the patch, because I need to move them on. But fingers crossed, it's going to be a really good season. They're looking amazing. I'm not going to add any more fertilizer. Actually, I'll take that back. I might give them one more liquid feed of nitrogen fertilizer, just a foliar feed. They do really respond well to that, especially at this stage when they're just starting to produce their heads. But for every good news story, I've got some bad news on my cucumber front. Actually, Dad, I didn't get a chance to plant my seedlings, but Dad planted these out for me last week, and they're just not looking the best. I'm actually having a real struggle transplanting cucumbers this year. It's normally not this bad, but it just seems like they just haven't got much life in them. I'm gonna try a little bit of Epsom salt to see if I get them going, but I look like they're a bit too far gone, and they seem just not happy at all to be in the ground. What I'm thinking of doing is leaving me for the weekend, I'll give them a go with a little bit of Epsom salt, and I'll add it to the base of water it in, and if it spruces them up, great. If not, I will dig this over and I will direct seed a row of cucumbers in this patch. And coming across to the back of the patch, and at my eggplant plant in here, they're looking amazing. The eggplants are looking fantastic. You can just see they're really green, and they're starting just to produce their first flowers. And I've got 8 here, but what's happened is I had interplanted pak choi in between the rows, and these were supposed to have been harvested. You know, they were just a bit too small when I left, but they've now absolutely exploded. So I need to clear this pak choi and make sure to see what actually is looking at what's going on here. And I might try to add a little bit more fertilizer to these plants, but first things first, I need to clear these choi just to see what I'm working with. Yeah, these plants have gone way too big, as you can see there. I usually harvest about half this size, but it is what it is. So I'm just going to harvest these, take the lower leaves off, feed them to the chooks, and keep the rest. Just finished clearing that choi, and I've got 2 full buckets full, so they just got too big, and I think next time I'll harvest smaller rather than that largest stage. Now my eggplant, see, eggplant's looking beautiful. There's a little bit of disease coming through, maybe just a little bit of burning, which I think it should grow out of, but there's a few stragglers, especially on the other side, and that's more to do with the fact that those choi were out competing the plants, but they should bounce back now. At the moment, what I'm going to be doing is just removing a lot of this grass, and I'll run my wire weeder through and clean it all up. These eggplants at the moment, just having a look at them, are still a bit small size, so I still want to add a little bit more nitrogen fertilizer to them. So I'm going to add a little scoop of dynamic lifter pellets adjacent to each of the plants, and that should last for another 2-3 weeks. I'm just applying it to the base, around the base of the plant, and then I will come back later and add some potash as I come through and start staking these plants, and I'll show you how I do that in videos coming up. Coming across from the eggplant, I'm going to go check on my first 2 plantings of green bush beans. As you can see, I've got my 4 rows here. These were planted 2 to 3 weeks apart, and as you can see, this is full of flowers and starting to produce little beans, which is excellent. This variety is called Jade, and it puts out those really long beans which are perfect, and I'm really looking forward to bean season starting in my patch. Now the smaller ones that I've got, they're a little bit yellow and they do need a little bit of nitrogen. Now I've learnt over the seasons that a little bit of nitrogen fertilizer earlier on in their growth really sets them up. You don't want to go too strong, but you do want to add just enough to get them going at that first early stages. For the 2 rows of beans that I've planted here later, I'm going to add just a watering can full of liquid fertilizer, water it in, and hopefully I should see them really bounce and start producing in about 3 or 4 weeks time. Next thing I need to look at is my 3rd planting of cauliflower, and it's just over here, and it looks like I've got 4 or 5 heads to harvest at various sizes, but they are looking really good, and I'm glad on the look of it, there don't seem to be much in terms of pest damage, and especially this big one here at the front. They are yellowing a bit, but that's fine, that's because of the sun. But this one's done. This one definitely needs to be harvested. I'm going to harvest this head and that head at the moment, and potentially, depending on how this one's still a bit young, but I'll come back and harvest that in a couple of days time. Just finished harvesting those heads, and 2 nice ones. They've gone yellow, that's fine, just because of a bit of sunlight. This is not really a self-blanching variety. This is your nursery brought stock, so I'm expecting it not to hold up its white color. It has spread a bit, and if you could just see that, it just means it needed to be harvested probably about 3 days earlier. And I did ask the folks to harvest them earlier, but they insisted I wanted to leave them for me to harvest when I got back, but that's okay. Look, they're still edible. Probably make cauliflower rice out of these, or make them into soups, and that's perfect. They'll still be fine. Still have 3 or 4 left in the location, and hoping to clear these over the next few days, because I am going to plant direct seed round of cucumbers in this spot here, and continue on the beans, growing the beans across, and plant more cucumbers in this patch here. So these, hopefully, fingers crossed, should be finished in about 4 or 5 days time. And while I'm over at this side of the garden, this is my last planting of broccoli, and just wanted to show you 2 things. One, the heads are starting to show, which is excellent, and it's really just in time, because you can see this is going to see this quite a lot in my garden, especially with my winter veggies. This powdery mildew is starting to show up on all the leaves. Now, it doesn't really impact the head, but it's understandable this late in the season that the broccoli will show some powdery mildew damage. Hoping at the size of these heads, these will be harvested about a week and a half time, and I'll clear this whole bed. But the powdery mildew is just something you just got to deal with when you're growing winter veggies this late in the season. Now, with plants that are showing signs of powdery mildew, the next ones that I've really seen it really bad are my cabbages. But at the same time, these cabbages are looking amazing. I need to start harvesting, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's an absolute picture. You can just see them looking absolutely amazing. There's 16 heads in this patch, and they are like a really good size, and I feel that it can grow a little bit longer, but I'm just anxious that this powdery mildew is starting to come through pretty strongly. You can see right there, and it's actually starting to come on there. I'm not sure if it's going to go on the inside head, but definitely on the outer leaves, it's really starting to hit them. And I'm expecting that also over in that back, I'm going to have to give up on the kale. Powdery mildew is also coming into the kale, and you can see those lower leaves all covered in powdery mildew, so these need to go. Doesn't impact the silverbeet. Silverbeet still looks great, but definitely kale and any of the brassicas seem to hate it this late in the season. Gonna come across and harvest 2 heads of cabbage, and I'm looking at doing both this one and that one there. Really excited about how these look. Want to start moving them on. Beautiful, it's got a lot of weight to it. Harvested those cauliflowers, and yeah, look, really happy with this late season cauliflower. Really happy with how they are. They actually got really good weight to them, and I feel that, I mean, just feeling ahead, I feel that there's still probably a few more weeks of growth in there. I reckon there's at least another 2 or 3 weeks of growth, and I can put on some serious size, but got too many of them. I need to start moving them on, and I'm worried about the powdery mildew really damaging the rest of the head. So out they go, and I'll be harvesting those over the next 4 to 6 weeks. Continuing with the harvest theme in this corner, I'm going to leave the kale in the ground at the moment. That's done. I'm not interested in harvesting that anymore, which is disappointing because it took a long time for it to grow. I planted them a bit too late in the season. I planted them in July, August, when it was a bit cold. So when they finally started producing, I haven't been able to grab any leaves, but I am harvesting this silverbeet. They're looking beautiful, and there's no disease in the leaves. Last year my silverbeet crop was just destroyed by a spotted fungus that was happening in the northern beds. Now I do need to come through and clean all these weeds, and that's a job for the weekend, but at the stage I'm going to harvest all the leaves and try to harvest some of this mint. My Wife has been looking for mint, and I'll harvest them for her to make juices. But I'm going to come and try to harvest what I can out of these leaves. And while I'm at it, see if I can remove a few of these weeds, get them out of the way. Finished harvesting the silver beet. That's the harvest. Leaves are looking beautiful, really clean. Did a little bit of weeding, still got a lot more to go, but that's a weekend job. I'll get on to that this weekend. I'll clear that all out. Now, I'm happy that this is actually, as much as I'd like to get more productivity out of this spot, I'm glad that this is starting to finish off. I want to get more summer veggies in here. I'm actually looking at planting around a corn in this spot here. I think it'll do real well in this space. Might even also plant a second round, potentially a late season tomato planting here, and maybe some capsicums as well. So happy to moving on. These are going to Mum's house. She's going to make stuffed silver beet rolls or spinach pies. They call them fertilisier in Arabic, and they're like a spinach pie, which is beautiful, and the kids love that. So while I'm over in this corner, just a quick update on the mango tree. Mango tree is looking beautiful, no disease showing on the leaves, heaps of flowers, looking really good. It's got a lot of good height, and I think the prune that I gave it about 8 weeks ago has really helped. Next year I'm going to come through and tip prune this, but for now this is fine. But on the flip side though, I'll come over to my avocado. 3rd year running, heaps of flowers, next to no fruit. I did just spot one piece of fruit just here, as you can just see that, but I'm not expecting much else. I can't see any more terminals, and I feel that my problem with this tree was that my dad gifted me this tree when I first moved into this house. It was a seed raised tree plant at the time, and I didn't have the heart not to plant it, even against my best judgment. I was always looking at getting a grafted avocado tree. Look, it's been 7 years. It hasn't done anything, and it's really annoying me at how much time I've put into this tree to really get it to fruit. So I'm gonna give it this season. I can just see a few more buds that have formed and fruits that's formed, but I'm hoping if it doesn't produce a dozen pieces of fruit, I'm giving up on it. I'll pull it out and plant a grafted tree in this location. But just checking up on my carrots as well, and it's funny what 10 days does. These have put on a lot of size, and I'm just starting to see potentially the first signs of some carrots. They're probably quite small still. I do need a bit of a weed, but the second planting of carrots here, I need to come and remove a lot of these weeds. Again, this is going to be a weekend job, but they're looking really, really good. I'm actually quite happy with how those carrots are looking. I was thinking that they're going to be ready in 6 weeks. I reckon I'll be starting to harvest these a bit earlier. And before I wrap this video, just to show you a roundup of what I harvested today, and it's been an absolute blessing to have this kind of bounty coming out of your own backyard patch. I'll bring you in closer, and you can just see I've got my 2 cabbages, my cauliflower, my broccoli, bucket full of silver beet, my pak choi, which was oversized, absolutely ginormous pak choi, my radishes, these are great and they're going to be enjoyed tonight, and my choy sum. So those 3 will be going to the in-laws, and the rest of the front will be shared between my family and mum and dad. So happy to be able to continue producing veggies even when I'm away, and I gotta thank Dad and my cousin for coming over and looking after my patch while I was away. It's really good having family that live close by that can lend a hand when you're spending time overseas. I'm going to take these inside now and hand them out to the family. Thank you very much everyone for joining me in this video. I really appreciate all the support, and I hope to see you in the next one.